Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. How are we doing? You letting? Oh, yeah, people are coming in
they're all
slowly,
coming in now. Yeah.
Cool. I reckon for those who are just, it'll take a few minutes for everyone to get in, right? So if you want to make that quick cup of tea, I'm very tempted to do it, but I don't think that's particularly good if I do. Yeah, you've probably got enough time to boil the kettle before we get started. Well done, Dean. You're ahead of the game. I've unfortunately.
Well, it's okay, Ben. Product placement. Jenny and I were prepared.
Sure. I'm gonna wait.
No.
Right. Maybe give it another minute. As someone who suffers when there's awkward silences, I'll try and avoid the temptation to sing. I know I say that every time. Maybe next time I will sing. Although last week we had our company do last week. They do a bit of Elvis, which I thought was all right.
I'd like to say, Ben, how fast does your kettle boil? If you thought that was fast enough to go and make a cup of tea, got a magic kettle.
Well, if I'm at home and this is very lardy-da, I've got one of those little taps that it just does hot water, right? I forget what.
Ben, I just start, Ben.
Right, let's go.
Yeah.
Cool, let's go. Right, bit of a different schedule today. Obviously, lots of news going on, so I'm going to use your sort of stuff at the start, but then we're going to talk about ShareDo and Clio, bring it together, what it means for you as a customer. I'm actually going to use pretty much the same deck that we used for employees last week. So, I mean, our mantra is always about being super open. So if that's a bit verbose, I do apologise, but I think it's, hopefully that will promote hopefully that will, you'll understand a bit more, both the rationale, what we're planning to do, etc. But also, Teresa, can you man the mute button for people as well, if that's okay? But also, I guess, give you a little bit of plan for what's coming up in the future. At the end, rather than doing the very long FormBuilder 2 demo post 11, I'm just going to stay on and feel free to ask me anything. But equally, if you've got no questions, then do that. I'll mute people then. Cool. Okay, but so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Then we're going to show some of the stuff that's coming up in terms of product pretty quickly. So yes, we're doing more list view enhancement. That's going to come out in 7.9, which we might be about 4 or 5 weeks away. I don't know. It might be 6, but it's reasonably soon. Duncan's going to talk about radars. Actually, both me and Duncan are going to talk about radars. We're completely changing them, making them configurable and hopefully pretty cool, hey? And mainly just making them very useful. I can't spell transcription. Ash is going to talk about transcription, have a little bit of break, grab a cup of tea, talk a bit about Finance V3, where we're up to. Probably won't do a demo for that today, because we've done quite a few of those, but I will be demoing a lot of the new Fabric reporting, which is imminent and will come in 7.9. Then we'll do some of the future roadmap items that we're not entirely sure we're going to drop, but they're pretty mature, some of these. Obviously, we've seen FormBuilder. We'll have a bit of FormBuilder too. And we demoed at the last user forum ShareDo Ask, and that's moved on quite a lot in the last 3 months, I suppose. And then, just to repeat myself again, but hey, I do that all the time. Then we're going to do an Ask Me Anything. Hopefully, Nick will be on that as well, Jen, Tone, so that if you've got any questions about all the Clio news, then let's do that as well. Cool. I guess, and it's not trite. always start these by saying thank you very much. We really appreciate the investment that you put into us, and the trust you place in us. And I guess, like over the course of the last week, I mean, between myself, Nick, Jen, and a few others, I think we've spoken to almost all our client base and a lot of the prospects as well, right? And I think for some of the oldest clients, and some clients have been with us for close to a decade, I'm guessing now. Hopefully, yeah, that trust has paid off. And so it's not just your investment in us, and we've always run very heavy in R&D, but there is a significant amount of additional investment coming in to make the product better, your experience as a customer better. And I'm going to go on to that. So as always, thank you very much. We really appreciate that investment. We really appreciate the trust, and we aim to always repay it. Let me talk about Clio now. As I said, this is an employee deck. I will try and not be too verbose. I do struggle. But what I wanted to do is just talk through the background to why. This is, I'll go reasonably quickly. So our business has been flying for some time. We've been growing at 50% year on year for, I guess, 4 years. We grew, 80% last year. And we win the majority of the deals we come against. Yeah. So, which we're super proud of doing. We're starting to gain quite a large amount of market share in the UK. In Australia, it's a bit higher. And we think people like our software. We're not always incredibly good at gauging that, but certainly from the sort of SaaS metric of net revenue retention, we think it's pretty good. Hope you feel the same, right? And so I suppose about a year ago, we started going, hey, there's a tremendous opportunity and we need some more investment to take this forward. And we started going, hey, what could little ShareDo, and we're whatever, about 70 odd people at the moment, what could a bigger ShareDo look like, and what could a really big global ShareDo look like? And so we said, okay, well, what do we need to do that? Well, we need to do a lot to the product, right? As we all, for those who configure ShareDo on the call, and I guess there's a mixture of people who from business, from prospects, from end users to configurators, right? There are lots of idiosyncrasies still, and we call that, there's a whole piece of work going on called simplification. But in this dreaming bigger, we wanted to take it to America as well, and there's a North American piece that we need to do as well. I'm super proud of our engine, so the customer success, the professional services, DevOps, support, all of that sort of stuff. But nevertheless, it needs, for us to scale, it needed a lot of investment. It needs to become world class, and world class and applicable for our market, right? And you guys are fundamentally, you're enterprise, right? And to do that, we need to bring in a lot of people. I think I'll talk about future investment, but I think we've got about 50 people joining us this year. And we need to do that whilst maintaining both our internal culture and the way in which we communicate, and the way in which we communicate with our partners and with our customers. And that's super important, because for me, I spent the bulk of my career, bar a few weird stuff in the .com world, working in the enterprise sector, and it's different from B2C. It's different from volume SME world, because we do things together, and that is a different culture and it's a different way of communicating. So we need to maintain that even as we scale. So that's what we said. Actually, we need to do that, and so we started going, actually, we need a bit of help to do that. That's quite a big undertaking, a little bit scary maybe. So we started looking for someone, and that takes quite a long period of time. And we didn't take that choice very lightly. We went out to the market, looked across a load of PE, product firms, And we were really excited by the level of interest we got in that. And what that gave us was the luxury of choice. So when we decided upon Clio, it wasn't because Clio was the only option. I have upon occasion used a dodgy analogy for dating apps, but I will avoid that. Yeah, we had the luxury of choice. And really the way we looked at it, so corporate, this deck nowadays, and we will get more corporate, right? So this is my one non-corporate slide. The way we conceptualized it is with the analogy of a video game, right? So we've got all those things we want to do to grow little ShareDo or medium-sized ShareDo into big ShareDo. And we needed to level up, and we needed to level up really quickly. And I guess with Clio, we feel we found the ultimate cheat code to deliver better product, better scalability, and better customer service. So that's a sort of preamble. How am I doing for time? Okay, hopefully. Yeah, that's a preamble. So I'm going to now talk a little bit about what it means for you, but also a little bit about Clio, because a lot of people go, who are Clio, right? Which certainly in our market, yeah. And then I might pause for breath. I shall pause for breath now. Have a sip of tea. So Clio, in my opinion, are the market leader in legal tech. And why are they, right? Well, they got they're a big company. They've taken loads of investment, but actually, a lot of that is culture and being found, product led as a business. So, guy founded it, really nice guy, just a normal bloke. Jack. He started coding the first version of Clio 17 years ago, and he still leads the company very much from a product perspective today. So they're a product R&D driven business from inception. They don't do what ShareDo do. They serve the smaller law firms, predominantly in the sort of strategic section or the velocity segment, increasingly in their mid-market segment. And that's super important because actually the way in which you engage with enterprise customers is different. The product needs to be different, right? ShareDo is super configurable. You couldn't give that to a solo firm or a smaller firm. And we did actually have a go at doing that, I guess a couple of years ago to get a sense of that fit. So yeah, we complement one another. What does that mean? The product's just going to stay, and we'll talk about all that sort of stuff in a second. Yeah. And hence it's although it's an acquisition, it's not an acquisition with the intent of asset stripping or getting the customers or any of the stuff that you see, or as a PE roll-up play, any of the stuff that you see within any market, but you seem to see an abnormal amount of it within legal tech, in my opinion. So it's strategic, and there's a lot of investment coming into the ShareDo product, the ShareDo processes on the back of that investment. And essentially, there's a slide in a minute, I think it's called Same Old with a Dollop of New or something like that. Essentially, the people you interact with don't change. The product doesn't change, or it's going to get bigger and bigger and more exciting, right? But so we're essentially a business unit within Clio with a lot of investment in terms of expertise, in terms of money, in terms of product thinking, in terms of UX coming in to accelerate our business. And that's why we call it a cheat code. And I think for us, right, some people may accuse us possibly of being a bit fluffy over the years. I don't know. But for us, probably the most important thing is always our employees. So we talk about an integration mantra of employees, customers, product, and then integrating in terms of their priority. But they're a really nice bunch of people as well, which is obviously super important. I'll pause the breath for a second. And just give you a little bit. I'm guessing, I don't know, 20% might not really know who Clio are. Usual sort of corporate slides. I'll pick a couple of points out of this. They have a lot of customers with very few. Each customer has relatively few lawyers or secretaries or paralegals or whatever, right? And we're exactly the opposite. I don't know, I think we've got about 42, 43, 44 something customers at the moment, but you guys generally have lots of lawyers. So we got about roughly about 10% of the legal professionals than Big Clio has. Been around for a bit longer than us, but yeah, very much. And they're actually planning. Yeah, there's if you look, the vision stuff is about creating this 100-year-old company. They're in a lot more geographies than us. So for, I don't know who's on the call, hadn't had a chance to look, but for the larger international law firms that we work with, obviously there's some super exciting stuff coming in terms of massive global support for the largest law firms around. And they just announced the biggest legal tech funding ever, which was just shy of $1 billion. Quick bit about the products, although a lot of this won't apply to you guys, but might do in the future, right? So if you just look at their product portfolio, they've got Grow, which is, and all of this is for smaller firms, right? But I'll talk about where I think there's overlap. So there's Clio Grow, which is all about CRM. It's about, we've all seen, legal specific CRMs before. I think it's a pretty good example of one. But again, it's designed for digital marketing for sort of smaller firms today. Clio manages conceptually very similar to ShareDo, right? Except it's for smaller firms, less configurability, whereas obviously ShareDo is designed for larger firms, giving you the maximum amount of configurability that we can. Clio drafted sort of, I conceptually think of it as precedents for the North American market. So for those of you who have presence in North America, we will be offering sort of electronic forms type stuff in North America in due course. Clio Payments is helping you manage payments, and we'll be integrating with that reasonably quickly, I think. And then finally, there's other bits and pieces around it, but I guess the key one is Clio Duo, which again, it will take us a little bit of time to leverage all of that and bring the sort of two AI roadmaps together. But suffice it to say, probably for this audience, that I think the investment being put into that by Big Clio, which we will slowly benefit from, I'm guessing is 20 times ours. Picking a number, it might be 15, it might be 30, but it's certainly a factor. I was going to do a couple of people, and it always looks scary, this sort of stuff. But and the reason I'm going to talk about a few Clio people is like for those customers who've been with us for a long time. At times, I think you go, really like what you do, but I wish you could get a bit more operationally efficient, or perhaps you could slicken some of that process. And I guess within the sort of Clio leadership, we're basically going to be able to take advantage of a lot of hardened expertise to help us deliver a better service for you guys, right? So people who scaled businesses like Uber and Netflix, people who run customer service at scale. So whilst none of that stuff's going to be immediate, I'm looking forward to a world where we're super slick and we're serving you guys super effectively. We're building world-class product with world-class security and all that sort of stuff. Not that we don't do all that already, but we're leveling up with the cheat code. How am I doing for time? All right. I've almost diatribed at you, and we will do questions at the back. So, like plainly, most people in their career have been through, what the ShareDo staff are going through at the moment, right? People get deflected. I would like to say there's not going to be any drop in performance, but it's a bit there's a bit of chaos that happens in these things, right? My mantra, Clio's mantra, everyone's mantra is employees, customer, product. Yeah. So at any point, and I don't think this should be the case, but at any point you feel you're not getting the normal service that you guys get, you can email me directly. You can email Nick directly. You can email anyone directly, right? I want to hear about it. Because I think with any change curve that you see, right, and it doesn't matter if you're putting in a new case management system or you're merging with another company or whatever it is, there is that little bit of a dip before you accelerate. We've put a huge amount of planning in to make sure that dip isn't it's not going to impact customers. But nevertheless, we're all human, right? But feel free, anyone on the call, to always email me directly and tell me to what's the word? Gently push, nudge, suggest. So let's talk about a bit more about what this means for you guys. I suppose the first thing, like, people go, and it's a right comment, right? They go, ShareDo, you're getting a little bit too busy, right? And that is true. Like growing, Nick, it was about 80% we did last year, wasn't it? I sometimes.
Yeah, based on our sort of recurring revenue subscriptions, on the end of February, it was 80% year on year. So yeah.
80% stretches us. And yeah, so some of the prospects on the call, right? You're going, oh, I've got a project, an onboarding, big onboarding piece. I'm rolling out to 1,000 users or whatever, right? So the first positive, right, is our targets aren't too big, right? We need to get this. We need to get a lot of stuff done this year. We need to get the engines running more efficiently to be able to scale effectively, right? So 80% was okay last year, and we've got a lot more help this year, right? So I'm okay with 100% growth. Next year is going to look a lot bigger, and this year is very much about getting engines in place to make sure we're serving you more efficiently and more effectively. Next number, I think in terms of investment into the platform, into the team, I think that's a bit bigger now. But anyway, it's like there's going to be a reasonable number of people, and there's significant hires across pretty much all of our business. So in customer success, in product, in security, DevOps, PS, never forget PS, and also across all geographies. So like picking on Australia as an example, I think there's 5 people going to join that team who, as a very small team, have done an amazing job, and we're going to bolster that team. We're going to grow a North American team and all that sort of stuff, right? Let's maybe give some examples of what that means to you as a customer, and I'm going to pick on products. That's what I look after, right? So back to a change curve. Yeah, inevitably it's going to be a little bit of slowdown. I haven't seen it yet in product, but then I think we're going to accelerate very, very quickly. There's 3 areas over and above the, we do, I think we're still doing more than 1 feature a day. That's going to go up over time. The product team's got, I don't know, 12 hires or something in it. But it takes a little bit of time to get people on board. But yeah, the velocity will increase. But I want to just pick on 3 areas: DevOps, automated QA, and security. So I'll maybe start with security, because we've always been super proud of the emphasis we put on security, and plainly it is the most important thing in any business, particularly when we're managing the sort of data that you guys hold. And I guess I might have these stats wrong, right? But some years we get like 10 pen tests because we do our own, and then customers often go and do their own as well, right? And I guess what's interesting when you go through pen tests, that many pen tests, is there's such a wide range of different quality in that world, right? And it varies from like you see a particular, a customer might bring in a particular provider, and we go, well, they're just not, it's almost not worth doing, right? So they find nothing. And then you get other customers who bring in like pretty hardcore hackers, and it's really interesting to see what results they get. So anyway, that's a diatribe. We're super proud of security. Clio take this stuff to a level that we haven't seen before. I forget what the term is called. It's not a pen test. It's more like what's it called, Tone? There's some other word for it, isn't it? Am I putting you on the spot?
Offensive testing.
Offensive testing. Yeah, we're having a chuckle about that. But yeah, it's a new level. And in my role, like that helps me sleep at night. Like the more stuff we can put in there, in that box, the better. So a huge amount of investment in security. I mean, we didn't do a spectacular job, I don't think, at the 7.8 release. We did a 7.8, a 7.8.1, a 7.8.2, 7.8.3 or 4, something like that, right? And it's very hard when you produce a configurable such configurable platform, because every one of you on this call has got different ways of working, different configuration, different portals, different workflows, different data, right? You're all unique. But there is an aspiration that through huge investment in automated testing, we can make that stuff a lot better. And I think I'm right in saying there's 5 hires in that spot. Might be wrong. Likewise in DevOps, in terms of global 24/7. I'm tempted to say there's 4 or 5 hires in that spot. Yeah. So yeah, we're super excited about that. Hopefully you guys are too, right? Processes and systems. We need to do a big investment, I think, in education community. Customer success is pretty damn good already, but I think it can get better. But certainly lots of investment coming in terms of education community. Almost finished. Sorry, verbose. So yeah, if I was to sum this up, I think this is the last slide. Yes, happy days, right? Cool. Same team. Yeah, mostly old, healthy dollop of new. Same team, same people you speak to. You've got your same exec contact, your same CSM, your same signed architect, etc. Same product, not going away. No one's rewriting it. Same hosting, no additional security concerns. There's additive product roadmap. It's going to shift around a little bit, right? But as a sort of top line, nothing's changing. Lots of new stuff though. And I think like people always get concerned about like what you've seen in other, particularly PE-backed acquisitions in the legal tech space, right? Is someone comes in, buys someone like ShareDo, and then goes, "Hey, we need to satisfy some PE fund somewhere." I'm not always slagging off PE, by the way, but you need to satisfy some PE fund, and we're going to put up the prices by 250%. That's not going to happen. Let's talk about new. So there are going to be lots of new faces, right? It's the nature of scaling the business. It is going to be faster. It is going to be more robust. It's going to take us a little bit of time to bring on all these people and make the changes that Tony's planning to do. Massive emphasis on security that has already started. And new customer success engines. And then I don't know if the last point is true, but we may be doing like an in-person enterprise piece in Boston as one of these, right? I don't know if that's true. I suspect it might, but we'll work on that in the next months. That's my big diatribe over. I don't know if there's any immediate questions, or I'm going to do this ask me anything type thing, right? Or ask us anything, sorry, right at the end. But it's very quiet, the chat today. Usually there's a bit of a bit more vigorous stuff. If there's not, I haven't even got a Lee question or a Gary question, right? Cool. Okay. In that case, is the chat on? I hope the thanks, Peter. You're Peter rather. Yes, I hope the soul of ShareDo will stay. And yeah, we are super passionate about culture, and culture comes down. Yeah, I talk, trite way of saying nice people. I work with nice people. Clio are super nice. We're still here. I will still unfortunately swear on the wrong meeting, and that's all. I think it will stay. Yeah. Cool. Okay. We'll maybe have a more informal chat then. If at the end of this, and for now, I will hand over. Well, who am I handing over to? I think I'm handing over to Dunk.
Yeah, I'll take on from here. Thanks. Right. So hopefully I'm sharing. Yeah, thanks for joining us today. I've got some updates from a product perspective on ShareDo. So let's start this. So 3 things I'll be going through today. Firstly, it's the list views again. I've got some enhancements. They're coming in 7.9, which is the next release of ShareDo. Then I'll be talking through the report designer, which is going to replace the way that you create radars in ShareDo. And then finally, after a break, we'll go through the ShareDo Ask, which is the kind of chat bot that we've got for ShareDo. It's still being developed, but I thought I'd show you the progress on that, which is quite exciting, I think. Right, so what's coming in 7.9? We've got a few more list view updates for you. So we've got grouping, which you can see there. You can now group on a column. We've got totals, which obviously more for your financial list views. You've got a row of totals there. We've got a couple around cards, so you can already show list views as cards instead of a grid. A slight visual refresh on those cards, but also the ability. It's a bit more of an advanced feature, but you can configure your own cards, so you can add kind of advanced behavior for your cards, which again I'll get to. So those first 2 to start with. So we've got grouping. This is just something that you enable on a column. Let's say here you've enabled it on the priority column. So it's now grouped your lists by priority. You can see you've got the row count there on the right hand side. Quite a simple feature, really. This is only going to be available in your development environments, and it's an opt-in experience from Global Features. Not quite ready for production, but we wanted to give you a taste of it, and I'm really interested in your feedback to see if you found a use case for it. The next one is totals, which will be available in production, and we're going to enable out of the box as well for invoices and payment requests. So I'll give you a little demo of those 2 now. So firstly, grouping. So the way that you'll enable this, just move this out of the way. Firstly, you'll have to turn on this global feature, so list view grouping. As I say, this is only experimental for now, won't be available in production. Once you've done that, you go to any list view and you edit your columns. And let's pick an existing column like priority. You'll now see a new checkbox here, so group on this column. So you simply tick that, and there you go, they're now grouped. So again, you see the counts on the right hand side. You can expand them, at which point they get loaded. And there's also a widget setting to say whether or not you want these to be expanded by default. And that's pretty much it. So that's list view grouping. So the next one was list view totals. So if I go to, let's say invoices, these will be enabled out of the box when you upgrade to 7.9. I've just turned them off just so I can show you how they get enabled, something to demonstrate. So again, if I go to columns, I can go to any kind of value field like pre-tax, tax, and I can enable these totals. Again, it's a checkbox, so show total for this column. So I'm going to enable this for a few columns. And then you should see this new totals row at the top. Just to explain, this is the total across all pages, not just the first page if you've got multiple pages. And also, as this info box explains, this comes from a cached data source. There's a slim chance when you save an invoice, for example, and you change the value, that it won't have reflected yet in the totals. You can just hit the refresh button and you should get the latest data then. So yeah, that's totals. So going back to the presentation, let's see what's next. Right, the next couple of list view enhancements are around cards. So firstly, just a visual refresh of the cards, and I'll show you a couple of examples of that. But the second one, a bit more interesting maybe, is that you can now create your own custom cards. So whether you want to drop on some you know, custom components on there, so you can search from within a list view card, add some hover overs, maybe even inline editing, which I'll demonstrate. You know, the sky's the limit. This is supported via the IDE. So as long as you've got a friendly coder who can implement these things, then yeah, go nuts. So let me give you a demo of those. Excellent. Right, so the first one, you can already configure cards. You probably know this, but if I go to a list view widget, I can say whether or not I want it to show as, you know, the table, as you probably know and love, or you can show it as a card. Now you've already got a few options, what we call a full card view or data rows, which I'll go through both of those. But this is how they look now in your current ShareDo instances. All the data's there. You can see it's split into kind of 3 areas each card. The items don't quite align. You select over here. So there's room for improvement, but all the data's there. Slightly busy potentially. So now the way that they look once you get your hands on ShareDo 7.9 is like this. So a bit cleaner. The items all align, and all of the actions, so selection and the menu, they're all on the right hand side here. So just a bit nicer out of the box, hopefully a slightly nicer user experience. The other one which I'll demonstrate you might not have seen is the data rows view. So instead of spreading the items across the card, they're just listed down the left like this. Again, it's a slightly nicer interface now, but this I find is more useful when you've got less screen to play with. So maybe you've just got a left-hand column and you want to squeeze all your data in. So that's the data rows card view. So the last list view enhancement in 7.9 is custom card view templates. So this is a bit more advanced. I'll take us to the IDE. But there's a new option now when you click these 3 dots at the bottom there. You'll see list view custom template. So let me create a new one. Let's call it my template. And what that's done is created you a new card list view template, basically. So we'll give it a name in this bottom file here. Just call it new template. Okay, and then we can go and make some changes to it. So it'll give you kind of very similar to what you get out of the box, but you can start making changes to it. Maybe I want to make the background a nice shade of blue. And you can also enrich the data as well. So this means going off and getting some data from Data Composer, for example, which list views haven't previously supported. You can also attach behavior here. So maybe click events, you know, so you click on a certain part of the card and something happens maybe. So let's just, for now, just add something to each title. So once I've done this and I refresh my modeler, I should be able to pick this template from modeler. Well, let's see if it appears. So I'm editing a list view. If I pick this new option here, card view custom template, then there you go. It's found new template here. So I'm going to select that, save it, and let's go and see if that's worked. No pressure. Oh, okay. This might be from my last. Oh, I think I maybe picked the wrong one. But anyway, you can see here it's got some some custom toggles on here. So basically, let's try that again. Not happy with that. Yeah, I picked the wrong one, didn't I? New template, that's the one. I want to see my blue cards. No, it's not going to work today. Anyway, you can see this is slightly different, but I'll give you a demo of one that I've prepared earlier. Don't worry. If I can find it, here we go.
It wouldn't be a demo without going wrong.
Oh, honestly, Ben. Yeah.
It wouldn't be a demo without going wrong.
Let's try. Let's try. Talk amongst yourselves. Right. I'm going to pick one I know works. He says. Standards template. Yay, right. I really want to show you this one because it's got some behavior attached to the card. By that, I mean, if I click on this title, it's going to let me edit the work item without opening up a blade. So I can change the title to something else, hit apply, and it's actually gone off and saved that to the database. So you can imagine kind of sky's the limit here. You can edit whatever you want. You can attach whatever behavior you want to these cards, and hopefully that'll drive some, new use cases for you here, and a much more streamlined user experience. So go nuts with that. Hopefully it works better for you than it has done for me in this demo. So that's that's list views. So the other feature I want to talk about today is it's something that we're developing for the next version, probably 7.10 of ShareDo, and it's better radar widgets. So at the moment, radars come from various places like reporting databases, Power BI, and Ben, I don't know if you want to give a bit of an overview of the current state of radars.
Yeah, sure. I guess there's a strategic goal here. I mean, I hate our radars, and I'm guessing some of you guys on the call hate them too. And I think with everything in ShareDo, it's like our mantra of it must be configurable. And these are always a little bit of a dark art, and they suffer from instability due to the reporting database. So there's that. Like, we hate radars. And actually, separately, I think it was DLA. I can't remember. It was one of the customers was going. Actually, we really, really want better reporting without Power BI. Now, we're not there yet, but the feature that Dunk and his team are working on at the moment, I think we call it Report Builder, but where it's starting off with today is the idea that you can just configure your own radars, right? Because radars are just mini reports, right? And it will just work with a data source of list views, right? Where it's going is that it will be a really cut down, really basic alternative to using Power BI reports. And I'm going to talk about the work that Sean and his team have been doing in sort of Power BI and Fabric. But today, it's just there for building reports against list views, and we will automatically migrate, if you haven't removed them already from your portal definitions, and a lot of people do remove them from portal definitions, we'll automatically migrate the bulk of the existing radars into New World, and it will enable you to create a lot richer like dashboard pages. So currently, like, often people put like a My Work page in, which is sort of okay. Personally, I think it could be a lot richer and a lot more effective at conveying summary level information to users. Back to you, Dunk.
Yeah, let me give you a quick walkthrough of something we're developing then. So what you currently get is basically kind of when you go into admin, you look in your reports and you get to kind of link off to a Power BI report. What you're going to have, probably 7.10, is the ability to create a ShareDo report. So this is what we're working on at the moment. It's a report designer. As Ben says, the data for this, though, comes from inside ShareDo, so it comes from the same place as list views. So as long as you've got the data available, then you can create your own report, and it will always be in sync with all the other data in ShareDo. So here, the first thing it's asking me for is what kind of type of chart I want to show. So here I can choose line chart, pie chart, whatever. Cards are quite often in radars and dashboards. You just want to see a single number, right? Like a total count or a sum of some financial data. So that's what cards are. But let's pick a column for this demo. So then you'll pick your list view that you want this data to come from. So I'm just going to pick a standard work list, and that's now showing me all of the columns that are available on that work list. I'm going to say again, my favorite column, priority. Now, what it's done here is it's said, okay, I'm going to use priority on the x-axis, and I know I've got count available for priority, so I'm going to put that on the y-axis. So you can see here, it's giving me a preview of how this chart's going to look with real data. Yeah, I can then go back. I can say, actually, I want a card view of this. And at this point, we've made our chart. You're going to have to use your imagination a little bit, because what we've not done is create a widget, like a radar widget, which you then select your chart, and then it appears in your radar. But hopefully you can see that it's going to be a nicer user experience to create these things. We're going to be able to keep these in sync with list views. So you can imagine filtering a list, and your radar gets filtered as well in the same way. So everything's going to be linked up. It's going to be a lot speedier and just a lot smoother from a user perspective. So that's the report designer. And I'll, I think, hand over to Ash. Thank you.
Yeah, super. I mean, when that stuff comes out, I think it's super exciting, and it gives you a basic alternative to the Power BI stuff. Although Power BI is always going to be more sophisticated. I think there was one question actually. I did see a hand up. Did I see a hand up? Maybe I'm imagining it. If there was a couple of questions, just shout them out. Shout them out.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi, Keith.
Yeah, the chat's not working for me. It might not be working for others as well, which is probably why it's quieter than you were expecting.
All right, okay.
It's greyed out.
It's greyed out. Teresa, we'll have a look at that. But yeah, if you put your hand up, or we like a bit of interactivity, so just feel free to butt in. It's all good. Yeah. Any more? Melinda, you had your hand up. Do you got anything? And Dean, yes, chip in. Lot.
Yeah, I have to be by voice because my chat's grayed out too.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, so the grouping, is that multi-grouping? Can you group more than one thing at once, or is it just a single field?
Just single field for now, I'm afraid. But yeah, if that's the feedback, then we can certainly look into multi-grouping if you've got some use cases for that. See, Pedro's asking about the reporting, whether it'll support calculated fields. I don't believe that's currently on the plan, because list views don't support calculated fields, right? But that's a nice idea.
But yeah, there is on the plan for list views to support calculated fields. So once list views support calculated fields, the report will support calculated fields. Yeah. Maybe Tone can cover that off when he talks a little bit about FormBuilder and stuff. Everything's FormBuilder for us. So apologies for chat stuff not working. I don't know whether we've managed to fix that in the. But hey, that's gonna. We can just chip in, right? That's cool. I reckon that is now. I don't know if there's any more, but I reckon that is over to you now, Ash. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Ben and Dunk. So I'm Ash, Product Manager for Integrations and Workflow. I'm excited to be able to talk to you about our new transcription offering and give you a look at, I guess, our first public preview of what that functionality looks like. So we are releasing the functionality in 2 phases with a goal to get basically some of the functionality and the time-saving benefits of transcription out to you as quickly as possible. So in phase one, we've built 2 transcription providers as product plugins. Being a product plugin means you've got the option of selecting the provider of your choice, or alternatively, if you're a client who chooses not to use transcription, not having the overhead of additional functionality installed in your ShareDo platform if you don't wish to use it. Providers that we're launching with are listed at the bottom of the slide here: Speechmatics and Azure Speech. And I guess without further ado, the exciting bit is to hop into it and show you just what that looks like. Okay, so I presume everyone can see my screen. I guess somebody would have shouted at me if they couldn't. So I've just gone into one of our demo environments here, and we've added a brand new section in the global features called Transcription, and this is where you'll manage any providers that you've got installed on the ShareDo environment. At the moment, I've got Speechmatics set up here, but you'll be able to use either Speechmatics or Azure Speech, as I mentioned earlier. And those of you that might be more familiar, if you manage features within your ShareDo environments, we're updating and moving to a bit of a more familiar pattern with setting up these linked services. We've got this kind of traffic light approach that you'll start to see more and more and more to let you know how well it's set up and configured. Oh, sorry, there's some microphone on there. Cool. So showing you what that looks like on the front end. So I'll just close this down. We'll start from scratch. So we'll open up any new task. But the long and short of this is the transcription functionality will work anywhere within ShareDo that you have access to a rich text editor. So some people call these WYSIWYG editors, or in our case, CK editor. CK editor is the brand of rich text editor that we use within ShareDo. And that is any field where you see it open up and have all of these extra form controls available. So you see here paragraph, font size, stuff like that. So you can see there's now a microphone icon that wasn't there previously. That microphone icon will only be visible if you have a transcription provider correctly set up on your ShareDo platform. And it's really, really simple to use it. So when you first hit the microphone icon, if you don't have a microphone enabled, you'll get this pop-up that you see within your browser asking you to confirm and give access to the microphone. If you are a regular voice note user within ShareDo, that will already probably be enabled for you. And actually, you can see there, as soon as I hit the allow access button, it already just started transcribing there because I'd hit the microphone button previously. So obviously, it's transcribing everything that I say, and it's reasonably accurate as well. But your mileage may vary. Some people will choose the Azure provider, some people will choose Speechmatics. They both have different qualities in terms of cost, accuracy, but you're welcome to try each of them and see which you prefer. So if I just hit stop now, and that stops transcribing, I can go back in here and make any changes anywhere I want. So let's just add a new paragraph here in the middle. Finish that. If at any point in time I want to continue transcribing, if I just hit that start dictating button again, what it will do is it will add a new paragraph to the end of what was previously there, and you can just continue transcribing more content into that box. And you would just save that the same way you would any other aspect or any other field within ShareDo. That content's there then. And you can come back to that at any point in time. If you want to come back into this field in a few days and add more content, you can still do that. One other thing you might have noticed, in fact, I'll show you on a different page to just give you an example of some of the places where you might see this functionality. So that was just any old task, and that was just a description field. But if I go into a matter here, we've got some comments. So I might just go, I want to add a new comment within here. You've also seen there was a blue pop-up that came up over the top of that window there when I first started transcribing, which is just an indicator that the microphone is active and a reminder. And the other indicator that you can see that the microphone is active is while the microphone is active, the microphone icon on the rich text editor pulses red. So if I'll just stop that here, save that comment, you can see it's just added that comment straight to the matter. Other examples of where you might see this are things like we've added this form to a matter within ShareDo, and you've got a whole bunch of fields in here. So you can see things like this short text field does not have those form controls. Number text fields, date text fields, they don't have those form controls. But as soon as you enter something that is a field that has a rich text editor associated with it, so within the confines of a form, for example, that is a memo field, it has those microphone functionality. And there's that pop-up that I mentioned earlier. And that's a very, very quick demonstration of how the transcription functionality works at phase one. So if I just pop back over to the slides and quickly talk about what phase 2 might look like. So phase 2 is going to be enabling an on-demand transcribe function to voice notes. So voice notes are obviously you've seen and used them in the past, and you can record those voice notes up to even a couple of hours long. What will enable people to do with this is on voice notes that have been recorded, just hit a button to get that content transcribed and saved to a block of text. That will be able to do the voice notes that you record in future, but also voice notes that you've recorded historically, perhaps even up to years ago. And we're also going to enable transcription of recorded audio files via an associated workflow block. So what we envisage this being is, for example, you might upload a file to your DMS, have a workflow to pick that file up, and then transcribe that file. So it might be that you've got a meeting recording that you want transcribed, or it might be that a client of yours has sent you an MP3 that you want to transcribe. Maybe they've recorded a voice note in WhatsApp or something like that and sent it across to you. And just give you the ability to use that kind of functionality wherever you want. Those are two pieces of feedback that we heard from customers that really supercharged the ability of transcription within the ShareDo platform. So we're excited to see this come in ShareDo in the near future, and I hope you've enjoyed that brief demo. I'll take any questions, but if there aren't any, that's it from me, and I believe we're off to a short break, and then Ben will be coming back to talk to you about Finance V3.
Sorry to jump in, I'm having an issue with the chat as well. Your transcription then was incredibly accurate. Have you had to do anything to teach the model or the dictation to do that, or is it just that good?
I've made no setting changes to the transcription provider that I've used there. That one that you saw there was Speechmatics. But as I said, we will also have Azure Speech available at the same time with that. Now, Speechmatics do pride themselves on a high level of transcription accuracy, and it was a request from a particular client that wanted to find a provider that was particularly good at transcribing different accents and regional dialects and stuff like that from around the UK. But I imagine, obviously, it's not just the UK. They've had different accents from that they get a lot of practice with. They also provide transcription and translation, which isn't something we're looking at the moment, but they do things like within their platform, live translation of transcriptions and stuff like that too. So they obviously work with a lot of people in different languages, and it's probably one of the reasons their transcription functionality is quite accurate.
Right.
One of the things that Speechmatics provide as an additional function, and this isn't something that you have to set within ShareDo, this is within the Speechmatics provider, is you can give it an additional dictionary of words that are particularly things that might not come up in common parlance, but might be familiar or common occurrences within your line of work or your work area, of which there are no shortage of in the legal profession, and it'll then sort of reference or favor those kind of words. But there's a lot of control and additional configuration that you can do with either of those providers within their own platform, and that's just reflected in the content that's sent back to ShareDo.
That was really good. Thank you very much.
Who wants to go next? Got a few questions for people who can't use chat, and there's one in the chat window. So maybe if I do Zoe's question for you, Ash, does it pick up prompts like next paragraph or full stop?
I think your mileage will vary depending on which provider you're choosing to use. They're not designed to do that out of the box, but it's something that we might look at in future.
Go on. I can't see everyone's hands, so don't be shy. Gary.
Hiya. Ash, I just noticed when you started talking, when you clicked the microphone button, there was just a very slight delay before it actually started picking up what you were saying. Do we know what that delay is, just in terms of, recommending to user that once you've clicked the microphone icon, there is a delay of likely to be a delay of X before it will actually start picking up what you're saying?
Again, it's one of those things where I keep using that term, but your mileage will vary. It depends on things like the speed of your internet connection, how quickly it can connect to the external service that you're choosing to use. There might be a slight difference in that in between the speed at which Speechmatics connects and the speed at which Azure Speech connects. But But in general, that delay is minimal. It's sort of half a second usually at most.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely wasn't a long delay. It picked you up mid-sentence. So it was really just from an end user perspective when you come to roll this out to manage also user expectations on that.
It's also worth noting that the first time that I activated it, when I activated it from the home screen where I created a brand new task, I hadn't enabled the microphone access previously. I deliberately reset that so that I could use that as part of the demonstration. But that was an additional one of those reasons that it started. I was already talking because I was explaining what I was doing as I was doing it, as opposed to having that work live. So yeah, again, if you've got the microphone enabled previously, that'll reduce that delay as well.
Thanks.
Cool. Laura, question from Laura.
Thanks. Hey, Ash, just wondering if you can use transcription on pages that have wikis?
Yeah, so anywhere that there is a rich text editor within ShareDo, you will be able to use transcription.
Thank you.
I think we got one in the chat. Is there a limit to characters to the description when creating a task? That's a lesson Ash thing, more of a core product thing. I think there is. But I'm not sure what it is. Tone, any ideas?
No, that's unlimited.
Yeah. All right, I'm wrong. Tone's right again. Cool. Okay. What are we?
I think we're on a break. Oh, hang on. Sorry, you just got Emma. Emma's just put her hand up. Emma Price.
Yeah. Hi there. When will Speechmatics Part 1 be available for us to start using?
So the development of Speechmatics Part 1 is finished, and that's now being passed over to our QA team. So, all being well, we'll get that QA'd as quickly as possible, and hopefully in next upcoming ShareDo release.
Okay, thank you.
Carol.
Yeah, it's not really a question. I was just going to say that I'm the project manager that requested the Speechmatics integration. We've been really impressed with the Speechmatics functionality. It can cope with the Glasgow accent, which is no mean feat. That's a massive thing. And then actually the integration into ShareDo is an absolute game changer. So we're really keen for it. So I was just going to say, if anybody wants to talk about it or speak to us about it, we're waiting for the demo. But yeah, I just wanted to say we're really impressed with how both the products are working together. So just wanted to give that feedback.
Thank you. The more you guys chat, it's good for everyone, right? It is 3 minutes past 10. I reckon we'll reconvene at 7 minutes past 10. Time for a quick break, cup of tea. But yeah, see you in 4 minutes time, and a poll. Yeah, and a poll. All right, brilliant. See you in a few minutes.
I'm going to launch it, so hopefully everybody should see it. I'm not sure about those people that are having some issues with chat, but if you don't see it, you should still see the question. Just let me know. Maybe drop me a message in the background if you want, and I'll update the score for you.
Right, let's carry on. Talk a little bit about Finance V3. As always, I suppose. Got Ronnie. I'm sure someone's manning the thing. We're broadly, it's going to be 3 releases of this. And I think they almost might be standalone releases. So we develop all of our finance functionality, techie word, but on a single branch. And there's a lot of things in each of these buckets. We're most of the way through fees V2, which actually contains some other things, and I'll talk about that in a second. Then we're moving on to billing, although we started some of that already. And then sort of client office accounting and some payments functionality. So those are sort of the larger functional blocks that we're working on in Finance V3, and there's a lot of things in each. And then we're trickling in time enhancements throughout all of that, because there's still a lot to do in time. But I'm not going to do a demo today because we've demoed quite a lot of finance about fees. If you would like a demo, then maybe I'll, and also I tried to do it last night, and it took half an hour to do the whole journey from creating we call them fee structures and fee templates, through to matter inception, through to changing the quote, through to recording actuals, through to write-off. So I'll just really talk about where we're up to and what's going to be in this bundle. Now, because we've developed this stuff almost completely separately, when we feel comfortable that this bundle is ready, we'll probably, I think, end up doing almost a dedicated release for it. So I think that will de-risk stuff for you and for us. So it might be 7.10. I don't know. But if you don't want to, if you want to skip that release because you're not using all this fee stuff, then that will make it easier, I suspect. But this is the current feature list for what we're going to release as the first bit of Finance version 3. You've seen a lot of this stuff already, but I'll just talk through very, very quickly. So time will record internal costs. That supports profitability calculations. You get a completely new design canvas for designing your different types of fees. We've been using that for quite a while now. My gut feel is the larger firms will end up with probably 100 or 200 different fee templates. They'll end up being practice specific. So you might have an hourly fees for family, fixed fees for family. There'll be lots and lots of fee templates. I've shown, I think, a few times the new fees UX. When you record time, it will create the relevant hourly fees, or else you can record against fixed fees and understand profitability against fixed fees. All of this stuff is done bar QA stuff that's still going on. We track WIP now, and again, with all of these, there's little features, global features. You can say I don't want to track WIP in ShareDo, and that's completely fine. You can select hourly fees or fixed fees and choose to write them off, and we'll record that against the write off pre-billing and record that against the relevant nominal account. You can take time. Ash's circle thing he did in his demo was very good, but I don't know if I've got a demo. But you can record time and then actually say I want to revalue that time. So maybe it was the wrong rate card that was used. You've updated your fee estimate. You want to revalue it from £200 an hour to 250, or change those time records in lots of ways. So feedback we're getting about some of our finance users is the granularity of import-export is wrong. That's caused pain, I think, for 2 clients in terms of moving between environments. I think we've reacted pretty quickly to that. Phil, Dr. Phil, as lots of people on this call will know him, has completely rewritten all of the way in which we manage the import and export configuration between environments for chart of account codes, and that stuff's in this bundle. We may release it separately to this bundle. Likewise, we're supporting import and export for all of goods and services, which we use to drive rate cards, price lists for disbursements, etc. And obviously, since we're going to have 200 or 300 possible fee templates, although I think it's perfectly valid to just configure those in your production environment, if you want to go through an SDLC for fee templates as well, you're more than welcome to, right? There's a slightly intrusive change around job roles. I'll spend a few moments on that. We previously called them organizational hierarchy roles. I can't remember why. And you configured them against the team. So Bob is a senior associate on the whatever disputes team, and then you configure that Bob was a project manager on another team. That's all changing, and the reason it's changing is it's all against the user. You have assignments that change over time. It's changing because, one, it's the right thing to do. The old model, I think, was suboptimal, but also it enables you to do looks at changes in roles over time. So Bob was an associate on January the 1st and became a senior associate on January the 2nd. Hence, the time-based billing is correct. So that's being worked on at the moment. There's some new types of fee section handlers. They are generic. All of the stuff we try and produce is generic rather than hard coding to specific use cases. But nevertheless, these fee section handlers are designed to support scenarios such as legal aid billing. So in legal aid, you often want to bill a different rate based on the time code, or you want to bill a different rate not based on your job role, but the job role that you're assigned as far as legal aid. So we've designed all that stuff to not be about legal aid, but hence it will support the variety of different fee arrangements of that ilk that you see across lots of different geographies. That stuff's all in flight, and then I guess with all, and we're going to talk a bit about reporting in a second, but as part of the reporting roadmap, and I will do a demo of that stuff, you get new reports based on the new reporting schema. Appreciate I'm just talked at you rather than demoed. If anyone's interested, like drop Teresa or me or whoever, right? And I'll do a separate like hour-long demo on fees. I don't know if there's any questions at this juncture, or talk about all the super exciting stuff for reporting. I'll go for no questions on fees. Fees is going to be pretty cool, I think. Okay, no stress. Let me kill that, and we'll move over to look
Ben,
at yeah.
Sorry, just to let you know,
Right.
Thomson Scotland are going to be doing quite a big finance rewrite. So I've shared a couple of slides there with our business analysts. So they might be quite keen to have a look at that when it's moved on.
Yeah, this stuff is done really closely with customers. So at the relevant, and even to the extent where if you want to have a look at like the finance branch, you can. So without wishing to overwhelm anyone, at the same point, if you want to contribute to that, it's always appreciated, as you know. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you, Carol. Right. I'm just going to set the scene, then I'll do some demo on this stuff, right? So I've shown this slide, and this is like, I mean, my gut feel is this program of work that it's going to end up being 2 years from start to finish. And I can't remember when we first started talking about it, but nevertheless, ticks are starting to appear. So I'll just talk you through the direction of travel, and then I'll talk about the stuff that's coming out in 7.9, which does impact you and hopefully accelerate you. But we spoke some time ago about completely re-engineering our analytics architecture. Right, one, to modernize it, and there was some really good reasons to do that, but two, to take advantage, to put a lot more power into your hands, both from sort of standard reporting, data analytics, but also with the aim of you being able to create advanced sort of machine learning type capabilities without needing a data scientist, right? Now, plainly the larger firms on the call today probably have a couple of data scientists, but not most firms don't, right? So getting that level of usability right on this journey, and we're not there yet, is super important. So on this journey, we started off by going, actually, we're going to change how we deliver your analytic data. Now, the idea has always been that it's your data, right? ShareDo is a black box. You talk to it via the public APIs, via REST endpoints and all that sort of stuff, right? But it's still your data. So all of your data gets projected into, well, currently for all but one, I think, clients now, it's still in SQL Azure databases, and you can connect your Power BI stuff to it. And it's pretty good, but it suffers from a couple of things. It's not real time enough. And also with customers with, we do see stability issues often. with the underlying technology we're using. So often people talk about incremental jobs and full jobs and all that sort of stuff, right? Anyway, that stuff's all changing. So I'm going to demo a lot of this in a minute, but you get near real-time data. I think we did it in the last user forum. It tends to be less than sort of data latency, sort of tends to be about 20 seconds, but that will vary. I think we're talking about 100 seconds maybe. You get a new load of reporting widgets, so you can manage and embed reports within your ShareDo portals more effectively, and that very much dovetails with the stuff that Dunk was showing you. So I'll sort of carry on that piece. You can, if you want to, take all of the reporting data and then mount that in your own data warehouses. I don't understand the technical stuff to do with that, but our team does. If you're at that level of sophistication in terms of a data warehouse that sits on top of ShareDo's data warehouse, then you know data will as well, right? So we can get the relevant people talking to it, and you can take that stuff. That also has some cost advantages in terms of ingress or something like that. I don't understand it, but basically it's more cost efficient to do it that way as well. Where we are currently focusing is in creating a new warehouse lake, actually it's called Lakehouse now, isn't it? Lakehouse schema, and a new set of sample reports. We're going to be dovetailing that with Finance V3. So you saw on the Finance V3 roadmap, there are some new reports, right, to do with fees, and then there's going to be new reports to do with billing. So all of that stuff is going to be developed in New World schema, new reports, new sample stuff, right? This stuff is only cloud only, so I think there's only like 2 or 3 on-prem clients left, but this stuff is only on cloud only. We will open source all of the legacy incremental jobs if you want to keep running that stuff in your environments, but this stuff is light years ahead, right? So a bit more verbal diatribe, and then I'll do a demo. So actually, no, let's do a demo first, and then we'll come back to this. It's a lot better. Let me find a browser. Okay, let's. So basically, it's not going to look a lot different, right? So wherever your reporting page is, it looks the same. Under the hood, there used to be a custom widget for displaying your report catalogs. This is just moved to list views, right? So Dunk demoed that you can do like your category, group bys, yeah. So however you want to display the reports that you're giving to your end users, you can. It's just list views. Unable to load model due to recent capacity limits. God damn. That's not great. This is why you should always test things before you get on a user forum. I think we might have to do some imagining it here, and I'll maybe show some of the back end stuff, right? If that had worked and we hadn't reached a capacity limit, then yeah, I know we're not doing great today. Then you'd see like a basic task report, and I think as we demoed last time, if I create a task, then it refreshes into this report super quickly. What I'm going to do is actually show you more of the how do you configure that world. Yeah. So let's go into admin. And go into global features. I think it's worth saying this is quite techy, this stuff, right? To the extent where I sort of understand most of the buzzwords, but not all of it. And actually, we'll talk about moving you from old world reporting to new world reporting. I guess the key point for me is you are not alone. Our CST team are geared up to, and some of the DevOps people are geared up to take you through this journey, because there are a few changes, right? So you get a couple of new features, or just streamline one. The Power BI stuff is just basically there's a bit of UX and a bit of tidy up around that. We can support multiple Power BI workspaces, so that's pretty simple. You do get an analytics feature now, and essentially what this does, I'm not going to be having a lot of trouble. Oh no, cool. Okay, what this does is it enables you to choose whether you want to use old world, SQL Azure, or new world, Microsoft Fabric. When you go through this migration, we will set up all of these things with you and make sure it's all working. Yeah.
Ben?
Yeah.
Sorry, I've just clicked the button in Fabric and I might have increased the capacity if you want to retry the report.
Oh,
I might not have done, but I might have done.
You're a genius, Steve. Is it going to work? Happy days. It's feeling like we have more capacity. If only you could do that for my knackered left ankle, then life would be easier, wouldn't it? Almost done.
Slightly outside of my skill set, that one, I'm afraid.
Yeah, exactly. I'll have more capacity in that. It's like waiting for, what's it waiting for?
A watched pot. A watched pot never boils.
We may come back to that in a second, and I'll come back to that, and we'll do that in a second, right? Yeah, that's all good. You then get a couple of extra options on your report blades when you're configuring these reports. Yeah, and the main option is about whether you decide you want to query Fabric directly. So in other words, your report is a complete query off the Fabric reporting, whatever the word is there, off essentially the database, or whether you still want to continue using Power BI models, right? And there's different implications of that, and the Power BI reporting specialists amongst us know that. But pretty much that's all you do when you set up your reports. That's a bit of a filler. I'm going to refresh that page again and come back to it. The other thing you get, and we are going to be moving these things out of tenants over time, but I think in the intermediary, it's good to have it here. I think in 7.8 or 7.9 or something like that, we introduced some monitoring jobs for the SQL Azure, so you could see how well your reporting was working, and all of that sort of stuff. This is the new set of diagnostics tools for Fabric. And for a layman who doesn't understand all this tech stuff, the key stat you need to look at is the top right one, which is how long is it taking for a change to your work items or a change to your ODS entities to flow through to your reporting database. I was going to demo that and create a task and see how quickly it flowed through to that, but I don't think we're going to achieve that. So what I'll do is I'll flip back to slides, and if it has managed to fix the magic stuff in the next few minutes, then all good. So let's sum up what that means for you in release 7.9, and this is one of the features I think Tony highlighted in the chat. There's about 4 features which need to go out in 7.9. This is one of them. So once configured, it does require a little bit of work, mainly on our side, a little bit of work on your side. You will have data latency of about 100 seconds. When I test, it's a lot less than that, but I think that's roughly the data latency. You would have noticed I don't get that horrible refresh button on these direct reports. So previously you got a button on report if you want to refresh the underlying Power BI model. If you choose to configure your reports in this way, end users don't have to press that refresh button. Yeah. To take advantage of this, you need to repoint your existing reports. So some clients have lots and lots of custom reports. Some don't. If you don't, it will almost be seamless. If you do, we can talk you through the steps of repointing your reports. Last time we looked at this, Microsoft licensing looked like it might have a little bit of impact to you. As we all know, Microsoft likes to change their licensing very frequently. And our current informed view is that it won't have any licensing impact for you. So it went down from 3 months ago to a little impact to we don't believe it has any impact on you. But as we discover more about this stuff, and we are quite bleeding edge on some of these features, we will obviously keep you informed. And yeah, the schema doesn't change, so your reports won't break, right? That's super important. So again, if you've done lots of reports, it won't break. You will need to do a little bit of work, but suddenly all of your reports, rather than having whatever 15-minute, 30-minute delay in terms of some of the analytical stuff that everyone's doing, is very near real time. But the key point is the bottle in purple, which is we're geared up to help you through this transition, because everyone will be going through this transition to gain access to these features over the course of 7.9, 7.10 or whatever, right? Once you've got that out the door, which is a lot of techie stuff, right? Then we'll be releasing. So the main, end user gain there is real time or near real time. Once we've got that out of the door, we'll be then rolling out a lot of the new reporting functionality. So FormBuilder 2, support FormBuilder 2, support for finance version 3, new set of shiny real-time reports designed for operations, designed for admin, etc. And one of the key benefits you get in this change is we give better support for time travel. So you can do things like, what was the count of that? What was my matter balance position like on January the 1st, 23 or something like that? Yeah. So that stuff is all designed intrinsically into the new model. It might be a little bit journey. Some people might not see the benefits. That's okay. I get it. So we are going to backwardly support this stuff for at least 18 months. And for those who've been with us for many years, right, even though we say 18 months, we tend to support it for a little bit longer. And plainly, we'll help you through the journey to move to the new world. Because I'm OCD and a perfectionist, I'm going to have to go back. It bloody came back. Yes. So so if I was to go to, I don't know, Team Matters. See, this is really asking for trouble, isn't it? It's failed once, and I'm still going to give it another go. If I was to go to a Team Matters and wherever, create a task on this little WOA, here I am. Also, by doing the demo in this way, I haven't given myself any filling in the time bucket. What we should do is start to see this stuff. I've got a backlog was 0. Bloody hell, that's quick. So that has the backlog is still 0. Is still 1. That's a sysadmin view. And then from my front end view, it says confidently. Hopefully, was I on task demos or task analysis? That was at 5 from memory. Power BI is not happy today, is it? Any questions as a filler? There is. There's a hand up from Fraser.
Hi Ben, just a quick one, and I think I know what the answer will be, but I'm assuming this is all only available if you're not on premise and you're in the cloud using all the sexy Azure and Fabric stuff, yeah? Yeah, it's all cloud. All of the legacy incremental jobs, we're just going to put them on GitHub. So if you want to extend them and do stuff to them, and you want to, it's really not happy Power BI, is it? If you want to carry on doing whatever you're doing, yeah, that's all good, right? So is that sort of frozen in time then, to an extent, that sort of what you're currently building? It's just with that sort of reporting database will just stay as it is. Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah, and then you could add to it, do your own stuff. We'll essentially just open source all of that.
Right,
But I'm giving up on Power BI. As soon as we move on to Tony's, then play me. I'll send a screenshot when it says 6. Any more on that stuff, or are you all good? Tony in the house?
Not sure I want to do my demo. The demo gods are really not in our favour today, and the stuff that I'm running off is literally code that was written at 11 o'clock last night. So this is not going to go well, is it?
Next time we need to sacrifice the poor goat, I think.
Yeah. Hopefully you can see my screen. I've also got a stopwatch in the bottom right corner. I've got a challenge to try and talk about FormBuilder 2 in 15 minutes or less. Those that have been on these before will know that these meetings end up getting extended by about 45 minutes because I just whiffle on and on and on and on about exciting new stuff. So I'm going to start my timer. I've got 15 minutes and counting. I want to show you 3 things that are coming just as a reminder, really, to let you know that it's still there, it's still happening, we're still working on it. It's just taking a while because it's quite a major intrusive change. But I want to take you through what FormBuilder is in its new guise, how it works and how extensible it is. We're going to look at using FormBuilders on work types, so how that kind of replaces all of the aspects, system and stuff that people are already be familiar with, and then introduce something called custom data, which uses that same holistic new FormBuilder model to allow you to create basically the equivalent of option sets, but option sets on steroids. So option sets at the moment are basically lists of names with a couple of additional fields. With the new custom data stuff that's all powered by FormBuilder, you can create entities for basically anything. So lots to cover. Let's crack on. I'll sign into ShareDo, and we'll find it in the usual place, which is going to be in Modeler. Also full of a cold as well, so I might sound a bit snotty. And forms and views. Okay, so everybody's familiar with the old FormBuilder definitions and hand editing JSON files and stuff like that. And you've got about 20 different types of control that you can add FormBuilder to, completely different. So what we're doing here in the FormBuilder part is we're creating reusable data elements. So at this point, we're not basically saying, here is the data structure for a matter, or here is a data structure for an organization. We're basically saying, here is a piece of data that I can attach to something else. And that's split into 2 parts. It's split into the data and then the different views that you see over the top of it. So let's go and create something to do with marketing. So we'll create an entity called marketing questions. And the first thing that we want to do is define what the data structure is for the marketing questions. So I'm going to add a bunch of fields. And I'm going to say, does the person opt in? And I'm going to make that a bool. Now, this is important. All of the things within FormBuilder 2 are strongly typed. So FormBuilder 1, basically everything is treated as a string, and we do a little bit of magic here and there to basically allow it to be treated as a date for searching and stuff like that. But in FormBuilder 2, everything is properly typed. And you've got your typical scalar types, such as bools and strings and numbers and things like that. But we've also gone a level deeper than that, where we can specify that, for example, an ID has a specific meaning. So you'll have seen this throughout workflow, where you basically say, I'm expecting this variable, this input parameter to a workflow to be an identifier. But you can say, but I'm expecting it to be a specific type of identifier. It's going to be a task identifier. It's actually going to be a key date. So the actual root type of it is still an ID. But in this case, we're basically saying that when I populate that variable, it's going to be a key date. It's going to represent a key date. I'll keep it simple for the demo though. So we'll say, how did you hear about us? And we'll make that a number because we're going to create a lookup list for that. Then we'll have some comments, which can be a string. And let's capture the person's name as well, which can also be a string. Now, as you have these fields selected, on the right-hand side, it's showing you some of the properties of those things. So you've got field properties like, what's the default value? Shall I make this field searchable? Now, what that means is, at the moment, when we do searching and we move things into Elastic to power list views and searches, we push everything across. And that's relatively inefficient when you don't want to push everything across. So every time data changes, it basically updates the Elastic Index. What this is saying is I'm explicitly saying that when I change the comments field on anything where this form builder is attached, I want to re-index the thing. So turning on make this field searchable will automatically push it into the index as a strongly typed value that you can then search on, sort on, and all. We've got some other stuff like field contains PII. So we've added that now so that you can basically specify where your pieces of data will contain personally identifiable information to help you do things like GDPR searches and right to be forgotten and things like that. We can also add validation here at this point. So we can say name. I'm going to add a validator. These validators, you can extend them in the IDE. You can extend them via plugins and things like that. And we will ship with loads of them. And they can range from anything from simple ones like this field must be mandatory, all the way up to more complicated ones, such as this one, which is going to compare a field against another field or against a value. I'm not going to demonstrate that because it doesn't actually work yet. Okay, so we defined our data. We know that that's what the structure of this thing is going to be. It's marketing questions, and I'm now going to be able to attach that to other things. But what does it look like? For that, we've got the concept of views. And the views have a visual designer, which allows you to basically just do this. You can say, let's drag in the opt-in field. How did you hear about us? I'll come back to that in a second. Let's put the comments in and maybe put the name there. Now, as I've as I've moved those fields across, it's looked at the type and it said, okay, that's a string. Therefore, I'm going to use a text box. But a text box can then be changed to maybe a label. So you can switch the controls that it's going to use to render the value that it's bound to. So that's important for this. How do you hear about us? Because at the moment, that's just a numeric input box. You can see the up and down sliders. I'd be able to put a number in. But what I want to do with this one is I actually want to look that up from a list. So I'm going to change the control to become a drop-down. And in the drop-down, I'm going to say I can load from an options set or a manually configured list. And I'm going to add a couple of elements to that list that they can choose from. And what shall we have? We'll have Google referral and other, because I'm so creative. I'm going to have time, 6 minutes in. Cool. Okay, so I've got a drop-down list now. I've got some comments. Maybe I want to make that comment box multi-line, make it a little bit bigger, and give it a maximum input length of 256 characters, maybe. And I'll show you how many you've got left. I can now preview that, and this is what it's going to look like. It looks a bit rubbish in a Blade because I've just designed effectively the data capture component and not any of the bits that go around it. So that's the basic details. What I want to do now, though, is I perhaps want to provide a slightly different version of this view. Maybe I want to show this with, some widget headers and controls around it, and maybe a pie chart or whatever I want. So for that, I can go in, I can create another view. And in here, I can switch rather than just dragging the data in, I can just use the toolbox. These toolbox items are all fully extensible through the IDE, so you can create your own controls, and you can do all kinds of stuff. So for this, just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to drop a widget panel in that just says marketing preferences. Looks like I've already done that before. And what am I going to do then? I want to reuse this view. So this view that I'm creating here, whatever logic and structure I put into this, I want to reuse it in this view. I don't want to have to recreate it. So I can drag another control in called a subview, which then interrogates what other views are available within this form builder. And I'll say I want to use the default view, and it will pull that in. Now, what that means is if I restructure this in the original view a little bit and maybe move name down, when I go back to view 2, you see that updates to reflect. And now when I preview that, you see it looks a little bit better. I've got a widget panel which those things are contained in. Let's look at something a little bit more complicated. So on this default view, what I want to happen is when I have this opt-in set to yes, I want these fields to display. But when it's set to no, I don't want them to be shown. So there'll be a few different ways of doing that. Something that's not there yet is you'll be able to select the field itself and do some kind of visible if kind of logic here with point and click. We don't have that in place yet, still work in progress. But what we do have is code behind. So for those of you that want to get a little bit more into the nitty gritty and do some more detailed stuff, you can drop into code behind. You get two methods to which you can then have access to everything that's within that view and the data that sits behind it, and control it how you see fit. And there's some helper methods and things in there as well to help you do that. So for an example, I want to hide these three fields when that's set to no. Now I could do it by hiding each of the three fields, but what I'll do instead is I'll actually drop a panel in there. And I'll give this panel a name called panel details. You can see I've done this demo before, autocomplete. And I'll just move these fields around and put them into that panel. Right, so that's made no fundamental difference other than the structure of the control tree now shows those three controls are inside of that panel. So if I go back to my code and in this ready method, I want to get a reference to that panel. So I'll say panel equals view controls, panel details, I think I called it. Yes, I did. So that'll get me a reference to that control. But I also want some reference to the underlying data. So I'll say the data that I'm interested in is view.data, which gets me a reference to everything that this view knows about. And then I could just say the panel is visible if I can create a function that will be evaluated every time some data changes. And we'll say the current value is the data opt-in. I think I called this panel, I called it opt-in. I'll access that value, and then I can say, just ignore the weird logic. That's basically saying if it's got a value, return true. If it's not got a value, return false. And theoretically, if the demo gods are with me, we now have show and hide. Job done. Now, the good thing with that is, as I go into view 2 and I preview that, that logic is carried through to that subview. And we're going to see this becomes more important in a second. Right, I'll save and close that. I've defined my form, I've defined my data structure, I've defined some logic, and I'll save and close. How do I use that? Currently, I can't use that to do anything. It's just a data definition light bulb. So we're going to work types and we'll attach it to a work type. So if I go to matter, now everybody's familiar, hopefully, with this old aspect system where we drag and drop controls into these various panels and all that kind of stuff. That disappears and it gets replaced with, surprise, surprise, FormBuilder. Now, at this point in FormBuilder, I can basically define data against this work type. So I don't have to go and use that FormBuilder that I've just created. I can independently add information to it, such as incident details. Make that a string. Make that a string. You'll notice on the left-hand side, in terms of the data that's being built up for this work type, we've got the incident details that I've just added, that custom field, but we've also got some root data as well, because every work item exposes a reference, title, description, and a category. So I've got those fields available for me to use in my design, but I've got no way of editing them because it's root data, it's static data. So again, similarly, I can go into adding a view, and I can switch this over to let's design the actual blade for the work item. And rather than just drag the details in, and what I want to do now is start showing more of a typical blade. So we've got controls in here like the blade header, which is giving you the save and close buttons and all that kind of stuff, plus some titling. We've got the work item ribbon bar, which is the thing that's going to allow you to do state transitions and stuff like that. And then from there, I can do the usual stuff. I can pull in my reference, my title, and let's just pull in category for now. Now, the category is interesting because that is a field that's defined at the root. And obviously, work items, work types, so matter, have a category. So what this does is it looks at the actual work type, and the drop-down list that is populated there is coming from the work type definition. So these are my subcategories. Okay, so I can pull in my custom field, my incident details, and I probably want to make this look a little bit breaking it up with some panels or something. So I'll drop a widget panel in, give it a title, basic details, and then move these around so that it looks a bit prettier. He says, okay, starting to get a blade, it's starting to look good. Okay, so a minute ago we created a FormBuilder. Let's actually use that in here. Now, slightly different to how we did FormBuilder 1. So FormBuilder 1, you basically defined some fields. When you attached it to the work type, those fields became part of the work type. You couldn't have two instances of that FormBuilder. However, what we do now is the type that you've just defined in FormBuilder becomes a variable type in its own right. So if I say I want to put some marketing information on here, I can actually go into my strongly typed entity list and find marketing questions. And then if I expand that, you'll see that the 4 fields that we defined for marketing info now are pulled in. And again, I've got the ability to do field validation, to make fields searchable, make it PII and all of that kind of stuff, which will be carried through from the thing I've just added. But that means I can actually have marketing 1, and I can now also have marketing 2 if I wanted to. And then in my view, I can do the same as what I was doing before. I can pull across marketing 1. And you'll see that it pulls in the default view that we created, but I can switch that to that slightly prettier one that's got some widget headers. And we'll do the same with marketing 2, and we'll switch that across to view 2 as well. And just to point something out, if I wanted to, I could take the data that's in marketing 1 and just drag the individual fields in. So let's drag in opt-in 1 there for marketing 1 and opt-in there as well for marketing 2. And I've gone off piste, so this may now not work. Okay, so let's preview that. So you can see now I've got the marketing preferences, my opt-in. As I turn that on, that functionality that we created still works. It still shows and hides the fields. And also you'll see that it's binding to the stuff at the top. So I've got 2 instances of opt-in, one that I added independently and one that I added from the subview. Realized I'm already out of time, but I'm going to carry on. I've started, so I'll finish. So hopefully you get the idea that you have full control over what your blade is going to look like. When you're creating new work items, it's going to look exactly as this is. You've got full control over things that are happening in the code behind. You've got the ability to create new custom controls that you can add in. You're going to have a toolbox of lots of things. I want to show you one more thing before I finish, which is this wizard. But hopefully that demos the basics. Let me just move quickly on to custom entities. So custom entities, again, is using FormBuilder, but this is allowing you to define lists of things. So lists of things, a bit like how we have option sets, but option sets are quite limited in what you can describe. In here, you can create entirely new things. So I'm going to create a new lookup type called assets. Name. Okay, so I've defined something called assets, and now it's opening up the usual FormBuilder to allow me to start defining the data structures. So in here, I'll create, I'll keep this brief, so I'll have just an asset name. I'm going off piste because my actual demo is much longer than this. A reference, which can also be a string, let's keep it simple, and an owner, which can also be a string. Again, I could, if I wanted to, I could add those entities that we've created. So we created marketing questions before. I could add that here if I wanted to as well. I'm not going to for the rest of the demo. So I've now got 3 fields. I've also got a root field called display name, and let's go and make it do something. So again, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a blade to allow me to manage these assets. I'll go back to my toolbox and I'll put some of the standard stuff in, like the blade header. I'll throw in a widget panel just to get some nice layout. And in fact, no, I won't. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to throw in something called I'm going to put a panel in to give me some padding, and I'm going to space it out from the top and bottom. And then I'm going to drop a wizard in. So a wizard, you'll see in a second, allows me to define multiple pages. So we'll say page 1 is details, and page 2 is, I'm so creative, more details. Okay, so on the details page, now I'm going to start putting some of my data in. So I'll put in the display name and the reference. And then on the more details page, I will put in, I can't remember what I'll just put in there, display name reference. Let's put in asset name, and let's put owner in. Let's put owner in 3 times just for fun. And if I preview that, I've now got a wizard panel that allows me to start entering some data about this asset. I click next and continue. In. Notice these 3 fields that I just added are bound to the same underlying data field. Okay, I'm going to wrap up by basically showing you how you can then use this. So I'll save and close that. And now I'm on the list of assets. I'm going to say, let's add an item of this type, and I'll go Tony's asset 1, which is reference TJ01. Hit next. Hello. And Tony is the owner. And save and close. And we now have an asset. Now, we created a whole bunch of fields. The only thing that this is showing me by default is the display name in this list view, but the list view now knows what the structure of that asset is because we defined it using FormBuilder. So what I can do now is I can go to manage this list view and I can change what we see in here. So in columns, it will show all the fields that we have available. And where you've got nested things, where you've got form builders in form builders, it will show you the hierarchy of those things. So let's just add the asset name in, the owner and the reference, hit apply, save and close. And now we've got all the additional fields that we've just created. We can then use assets as lookups in much the same way as we do with option sets. But of course, option sets have got a name and a value. Your custom data items can be anything and can describe anything. I'm done. I'm 5 minutes over time. Any questions?
I think one thing just to add, Tony, just from a few messages is just to reiterate what Ben said in the chat, that obviously everybody's got different levels of use cases that they'll use FormBuilder for, but and obviously Tony's done little bits of code and things in there, but all the kind of like basic use cases will all be kind of drag and drop type functionality. So yeah, we try and make everything low code.
Yeah, you'll only need to drop back to code if you want to do something complicated. That'll be pointy, clicky, draggy, droppy faces.
Cool. Little bit of ShareDo Ask, then 5 minutes, Dunk.
Right.
ShareDo Ask in 5 minutes.
I'll be quick. So yeah, I've demoed this before, so let's just very quickly go through. ShareDo Ask is what we call our new chatbot. Not quite available yet, but we just want to give you a heads up of what's coming. It grabs your data from list views, data composer, chronology. The actual underlying large language model will be interchangeable. We use the OpenAI one at the moment, but you'll be able to plug in all sorts. Clio, we're a Google house, so hopefully we'll look at Gemini as well going forward. What I want to demo today, which is slightly different to last time, is the creation. So I'll show you roughly what you can ask, but then also we'll try and create a task using the chatbot. So we'll see how this goes. Tony's just raised the bar. So in terms of how demos are going to go. So what can we ask? So we can ask like, when is the next task due? So this will hopefully go off to my list views and find out what the next due task is. Okay, it's telling me here. Remember to call Jane is due on the 20th of March. Okay, okay, who is that assigned to? Let's just have a bit of a conversation with it here. So it remembers the context of what I've asked before. Hopefully it'll tell me, okay, it's assigned to Giles. What's the one after that? So yeah, hopefully you get the fact this is a conversation. It's telling me what the one after that is. I need to call John. So all good. What is new is the fact that it can now look at your chronology. So I can say things like, who did I last contact on this case? So hopefully it'll see there's an email that was sent out earlier today. There you go. So your last contacted myself. Okay, what was said? So now again, this is available in chronology. So apparently I said, please let me know how you'd like to proceed. That's great. So it can get data from chronology now as well. So the final thing I want to show you is creation. So let's see how this goes. So I'm going to ask it to create a task to do something to ask Tony about FB2 tomorrow. Great. So first thing to note here is it's not going to just do it without asking me to confirm anything. So it always needs your consent before creation. Okay, so it's It's going to create a task on the 20th of March. Okay, actually, make it for the day after. So again, we can have a conversation about this thing. Okay, so it's going to create it on the 21st of March. Do you want to proceed? I can click yes, or I can just give some kind of affirmative answer. As long as it's like over 90% sure that I want to proceed, it'll create it. So there you go. Created a task. It surfaced it up here. I can click on it and ask Tony about FB2 on the 21st of March. So as you can see, this is quite helpful here, but if you can imagine this chatbot is going to be available in the Outlook add-in. So, you've got a lot less real estate. So this is going to be really useful. And also you're going to be able to create time entries and other activities in ShareDo. So yeah, quite excited about that. Thank you.
That's us done. The ShareDo Ask, as it's currently its current name, is starting to get a bit mature. We still got a few features that we think are necessary to make this a rich and fulfilling experience. Most of the query stuff's done, but there's I mean, if anyone who's played with LLMs, it's quite hard work at times. But yeah, we're adding new create features, so like time. I think it'd be super useful for people to be in Outlook and say add a reserve for 500 quid or whatever they might want to do. So there's a few more to come. Yeah, James Spencer, it will link to the dictation feature, probably post first release. Gareth, it just uses the underlying query model of ShareDo. So if you can't see it in ShareDo, your Ask can't get to it. None of your data is being used to train it. It's all just passed essentially in the context window for the techies amongst us. So yeah, we've gone to town on the security. And as I highlighted right at the start, right, like security gets like plus level up type stuff. That's it. As usual, a lot of content. I think I lost on the demo, didn't I?
You definitely lost on the demo.
Yeah, but at least I won on the Tony can't do FormBuilder demo in 15 minutes. So as always, really appreciate everyone's time, everyone's investment, and hopefully everyone's success in rolling out your business processes and your optimizations using ShareDo. For those who want to, we just thought we'd carry on. If you've got any questions around the Clio acquisition of ShareDo, we're here. If you haven't, then equally don't feel you need to. But we are available for any questions if anyone's feeling brave.
Yeah, and if you're not, do feel free to drop us an email or give us a call on a one-to-one basis. So we're happy to respond accordingly.
I think I can't see anybody popping questions into the chat. But but obviously I know that your customer success managers reach out to you all kind of every couple of weeks, once a month. So you have got those sessions available to you as well. So if you can't think of them right now, it's not a one-stop shop. So you can definitely kind of just keep quizzing us on it.
Cool. In that case, I'll do a going once, going twice.
Or can I allow to some people only? Sorry, Peter's put a last-minute question in there. Or can I allow to some people only? Do you mean, is that for the ShareDo Ask, Peter?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
It's connected with Gareth's previous question that how will Ask go with permissions or if it can be allowed just for a couple of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can roll it out as you see fit. We don't want to grand slam it. It's interesting. I mean, we haven't showed loads of it, but behind the scenes, you get some dashboardy type stuff. I'm not sure if that's been built yet or not. It's certainly been designed where you can see the accuracy and there's thumbs up, thumbs down type stuff, and and we get non-sensitive data, anonymized data on that, so we can see if the LLM is behaving with the accuracy levels that we all expect. So yeah, you get to roll that stuff out slowly.
Great, thanks.
Cool. Okay, let's ship it.
Thanks for your
Take care,
support.
everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Say bye. Bye.
Cheers.